This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, I have always said it, and I will continue to say it. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, we are broadcasting from our studios in Orlando, Florida on this lovely Friday, May the 30th of 2025, day 150th of the year, and only 215 days left to go. Anyways, as we are broadcasting across the multiverse here at Safety FM, we're also hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, Multiverse of Safety FM is where we hang. That's where we do our stuff. Anyways, how have you been? Hopefully, it's been a grandiose week. I had a escapism that I had to do to go up to good old Canada. So sorry about the disappearance there for some things out of my control that I had going on right there. So anyways, how have you been? How are things? How's the world going? How is everything treating you? Because that's always an important question. So if you're new here, our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's kind of how it goes. That's how the world goes about and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're curious on what we talk about, it's safety in the news and safety. You can hang out with us if you want to do that here on the multiverse of things that we have going on. You can hang out at safetyfm.com. You can hang out at radiobig.fm. You can do this on the live streamers such as Odyssey. You can hang out on, iHeartRadio. You can watch us on Safety FM if you go to the visual radio side of the house if you want to do that. And then if you want to interact with the show, all you have to do is go to callinradio.com. That's callinradio.com. And that will get everything moving and grooving for you. It's kind of the simplest process of being able to do anything inside of our multiverse of stuff. So there you go. Some things always going on inside of our worldo. Hopefully things are good with you. So as we go through it, today's Friday, which is normally Freeform Friday, which means we'll talk a little bit about everything that's going on, because that's kind of what we do just generally. But on Friday, it's in particular because we cover everything. And normally we try to play catch up with everything that we didn't talk about earlier in the week, but listen to the grandioso part here. I wasn't here the bulk of the week, so that's going to make it a little bit more interesting as we are doing this. So let's talk about what the hell was trending in the overnight.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so as I take a look at the trends at the ends, police in Florida investigate a drone delivery scheme into a prison. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, Todd Chrisley spent his time in the clink hitting weight, and the Kings of Leon paused their tour. So there you go. We'll talk about that as we get into show business. Also, Hamilton turns 10. We'll talk about that in Casting Call. And then let's see, the latest post from As Ever has the internet wondering just where Megan Sussex gets her pristine produce. So we'll talk about all that fun stuff as we are going into the multiverse of things that are happening inside of the world. So a lot of stuff to discuss on this lovely Friday, no doubt about that. Do you see how everything's kind of blurring? It's kind of interesting on how that's working out. Okay, so I have some friends from Feature Story News that are ready to talk to you about some things that are going on inside of the world. So if you're good, I'm good, and we'll get this whole show on the road.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Hamas officials are signalling they will reject the White House's latest plan for a ceasefire deal in Gaza. The US says Israel's accepted the proposal, which includes a 60-day pause in fighting and the release of more hostages and prisoners. Hamas believes the plan doesn't satisfy core demands such as an end to the war. Military analyst Major Andrew Fox says long-term solutions to the crisis look elusive.
There's a huge amount of clear blue water between the two negotiating sides at the moment. Bottom line is Hamas wants to survive. That is a win for them in this war. The conditions that Israel is demanding are that Hamas removes itself from power and releases all their hostages, where the hostages are the only thing ensuring Hamas's survival. So we're in this wicked loop.
US President Donald Trump's global tariffs have been temporarily reinstated after a federal appeals court agreed to pause a ruling halting the import taxes while it considers the White House's appeal. The Trump administration has threatened to go to the Supreme Court if it was unable to block the trade court's ruling that said the president exceeded his authority in imposing the tariffs. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
Another roller coaster 24 hours in the global trade war instigated by US President Donald Trump. On Wednesday, the Court of International Trade ruled that President Trump didn't have the power to impose the sweeping tariffs he announced on so-called Liberation Day, meaning his plans to impose a baseline 10% tariff on all nations, as well as higher levies on certain countries, were blocked. The Trump administration immediately lodged an appeal with the Federal Appeals Court, and on Thursday, it paused the ruling made by the Trade Court, temporarily reinstating the tariffs.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is set to make his debut at a key Asian defense forum, while China's Defense Minister Dong Jun will skip it. A delegation from the People's Liberation Army National Defense University will attend the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
In previous years, China has sent its defense minister to the high-profile summit. Last year, there was a bilateral meeting between Dong Jun and then U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. However, U.S.-China military ties have worsened in recent months, with working-level military dialogue channels established during the Biden administration suspended since U.S. President Donald Trump took office. Some analysts say with the absence of China's defense minister, that presents the U.S. with an opportunity, and Hegseth is set to make his first remarks on his vision for U.S. defense policy in the Indo-Pacific.
Polls suggest Poland's presidential election on Sunday is running neck and neck. Warsaw's Liberal Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski and Conservative Karol Nawrocki are contesting the role which has significant power to veto legislation. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. New Delhi has once again rejected Donald Trump's claims that a ceasefire between India and Pakistan was only achieved because the US administration offered the two countries trading access. India has repeatedly rejected Trump's version of events, that the US brokered the ceasefire and of trade ties being a factor in ending hostilities with Pakistan, something that strained ties with its largest trading partner. Neha Punia reports from New Delhi.
New Delhi has once again categorically rejected American claims that the US president offered India and Pakistan, quote, trading access with America to avert a full-scale war between the nuclear-armed neighbors. In a press briefing, Randhir Jaiswal, the official spokesman for the Ministry of External Affairs, said this: there were conversations between Indian and US leaders on the, quote, evolving military situation, but New Delhi says the issue of trade or tariffs did not come up in any of these discussions. Trump's repeated claims taking credit for the ceasefire have angered New Delhi. Experts say, straining what is otherwise a very robust bilateral relationship. This week, India's foreign secretary is also in the US meeting officials, where Trump's comments have reportedly also been raised by Indian officials. Neha Punya, New Delhi.
There's more of our reporting on X, our handle there, @Feature Story. And you can find us on Facebook too. Just search Feature Story News. To recap the top stories, Hamas officials are signalling they will reject the White House's latest plan for a ceasefire deal in Gaza. US President Donald Trump's global tariffs have been temporarily reinstated by a court. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is set to make his debut at a key Asian defense forum in Singapore amid strained ties with some allies, and polls suggest Poland's presidential election on Sunday is running neck and neck. That's the latest Feature Story News. Ollie Barrett reporting.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Oh, yes, some infiltration in Radio Big is always an interesting thing to talk about as we are combining the worlds together. Anyway, so let's get into the world of the multiverse, because that is what we do around here. We're going to talk about the stuff that's going on inside of the world, so let's talk about some tariff stuff, because why would we not do that? So let's get into it. The late Wednesday, the Court of International Trade ruled that President Trump exceeded his authority in levying tariffs on Ford imports. Less than 24 hours later, the Federal Appeals Court paused that ruling, and it is an appeal. The Trump administration said that they would pursue emergency relief from the Supreme Court if the actions were taken. The global tariff scheme remains in effect as the administrations and plaintiffs submit motions to proceed. So this is according to CNBC. So what do you think here? What do you think? What do you think of the whole thing? It always gets interesting as we start talking, no doubt there. Meanwhile, the director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, said on Thursday morning that 3 other trade deals have been completed and are waiting for Trump's final approval and announcement. So let's take a look at what is going on inside of the world. Tariff talk is pretty interesting. And by the way, don't go to another country and start talking about the exchange rate. People don't want to hear that. I learned that over the last week, that's for sure. So need to be silencio. Necesita silencio when it comes to that stuff. It seems that way. So let's talk about this. While officials in New Orleans investigate how 10 men busted out of jail, police in Martin County, Florida, are looking into the man who used a drone to deliver items to the clink. The warden says the correctional institution had noticed an uptick in contraband that inmates in recent weeks, including cigarettes, cell phones, and even ammunition. And monitoring security cameras, the prison's security officials noticed a green light zipping through the night sky. When they went outside for a closer look, they could confirm it was a drone. Eventually, they were able to track and remote the flying device to a man clad in a black standing by SUV parked on the side of the nearby road. He was arrested and charged with smuggling contraband into a prison. Once they got their hands on the drone, they saw that it was decked out in camouflage and covered in black tape. This is according to WPTV in regards of the things that were going on. So that gets interesting. I mean, so you decided to commit hardcore is what it sounds like when it was all said and done. So, you know me, I like me some World of the Weird. I'm not going to lie here. So if I did not share this with you, I would feel like I'm under-servicing in regards of what needs to be done. So why don't we do this real quick? Let me play this.
Of a man allegedly trying to smuggle contraband into the Martin Correctional Institution via drone. I'm asking the sheriff how he foiled the plot and hearing from state correction leaders sounding the alarm about this type of crime. The warden of Martin Correctional Institution reached out to the sheriff's office earlier this month over a growing problem. 8 times in a 2-week stretch,
8 times
drone drops were being made in the middle of the night. And it wasn't just cell phones and cigarettes getting in.
Most concerning to them, they found some live rounds of ammunition in the prison.
Detectives tell me they
Why would you want that?
And last Thursday noticed a constant green light flying in between the prison and the nearby work camp.
This is the first time where we've gone out there and actually sat there and watched somebody fly a drone in.
Sheriff John Budensiek says they tracked the light to an SUV parked on the side of the road. A man identified as Kahid Ash of West Palm Beach was arrested and charged with introduction of contraband into
contraband.
The drone was covered in tape.
I reached out to the State Department of Corrections for comment. In a statement, the FDC said, "This incident is a chilling reminder that the dangers posed by drones are immediate and real, endangering both our prisons and the communities surrounding them. We applaud the Martin County Sheriff's Office for their swift assistance, as well as our dedicated
Well, that gets interesting.
who spotted and reported this encounter." In fact, state correction leaders were just in Washington, D.C. last week addressing this very topic before this arrest was made.
I'm here today to sound the alarm.
FDC Secretary Ricky Dixon went before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee to say the criminal use of drones is escalating.
And we do not have the tools or the legal authority to stop them.
Sheriff Budensiek says in the wake of the jailbreak in Louisiana, it's important to be vigilant that stories in the national news could also happen locally.
So it's our job, even though they're a standalone system, to do our part to keep our county safe.
In Martin County, John Shainman, WPTV News.
Well, that pretty much gets interesting as you start thinking about it. So hold on. I want to know what kind of regulations people want to put in place when it comes to monitoring drones, because that's going to be an interesting one. I kind of wish that guy was there to give a little bit more information opposed to just the info that he gave, but I guess this is kind of how it works sometimes. So let's continue. Any outdoor pool owner has dealt with the process of getting the pool ready for the season, pulling back the cover, dumping a bunch of chemicals, and fishing out whatever vermin might have fallen in and died during the winter season. In the case of one Long Island homeowner, the process included getting rid of a dead human body when he pulled back his cover for the first time in the season. So far, no identity has been shared in the cause of death identified, but police say that the body appears to have been there for a while. Worth noting, police conducted a manhunt for further suspects last November. A 23-year-old man suspected of killing his father. That suspect was never found, and he's their first lead to identify the body. So there you go. Hopefully he's not the first lead to identify the body. Maybe he's the first lead of people that they think that it is. A suspicious person that think that it was the person dead in the pool. I have to tell you, the more and more I look at these websites with news stories, they should just call them ad websites, because holy shit, they couldn't squeeze another ad inside of there. So I will not be showing you that one because there's so many ads on this website. Anyways, when two hikers in Andrianox called for help, and the report says that the third member of their group was dead. Police rushed to their location only to find two men tripping on mushrooms. The much revealed officers escorted the men into an ambulance where they were able to come down from their high and in the safety of a hospital. They were united with very much alive with a third hiking partner from their campsite. So there you go. So hold on, they were tripping and they thought the dude was dead? Mushroom high. Okay. It's a different approach, but hey, I guess people do things that they think that is important.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, yeah, safety never sounded so terrible, that's for sure, as we are talking. Authorities responding to allegations of animal abuse at a discreet Oregon zoo were shocked to find drugs, guns, and piles of cash, in addition to more than 300 neglected animals. At least 44 guns, including a machine gun, were found, along with methamphetamines, cocaine, and other drugs, including $1.6 million in cash, bonds, and cashier checks. Also, dead tiger was found that stuffed into a freezer. Lions appeared several undernourished, and a chimpanzee was found living alone inside of a cage. And the food for the animals contained vermin and feces. Bark owner 52-year-old Brian Tenney was arrested on a suspicion of possession and manufacturing attempted distribution of methamphetamines. The animals had been rehomed to the park that has been shuttered. This is according to the Oregonian. Holy crap. It's a lot of stuff going on there. Think about that for a moment as we are talking. Okay, let's get into the swamp because, we could not have a day about news without getting a little swampy-ompy. Let's just not lie here. You know that. I know that. So we have to talk about the swamp stuff because what else are we going to be doing? So take a listen to this. Some new details of the spending rescission package for the speaker's Mike Johnson teased on X earlier. Political reports that the first bill will repeal less than $10 billion in spending and target subsidized for broadcasters PBS and NPR. Worth noting, $10 billion is less than 1% of the $1.1 trillion deficit of the federal government is expected to run this year. Worth asking, what is the point of electing Republican Congress if it's so skittish about cutting spending when it's given the control of its legislator? They should all be enthusiastic about slashing and burning every extra cent. And President Trump should demand the same publicly and loudly. Like Senator Rand Paul said last week, if Congress can't cut $9 billion, I think that most should resign and go home. So there you go. I don't know. A lot of stuff to think about. A lot of stuff going on. There is no doubt about that as we are talking. Let's continue talking. The Dow gained about 117 points to close at 42,215 on Thursday. The S&P increased by 23 points to close at 5,912, and the Nasdaq gained about 72 points to close at 19,173. West Texas Intermediate closed at $60 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $63 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.16 on Thursday, and Bitcoin fell on Thursday, down almost 2% and trading just around $106,000. Tonight's Mega Million drawing will be for $189 million jackpot or an $82.7 million cash payout. Saturday night's Powerball drawing will be for $207 million jackpot or a $91 million cash payout. So if you want to play the game, it is an opportunity to do so. So let's talk about this because people are talking about it making the roundy-oundies. I think that it's making around these oundies in regards of what is going on inside of the world. So take a listen to this. According to this, Todd Chrisley is jacked. The reality show star showed off his prison physique during a freedom ride home to Nashville. Daughter Savannah, who was on hand to pick him up on Wednesday night from Florida's federal prison camp in Pensacola, showed off his toned biceps since expired Instagram story, telling fans, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. Todd's wife, Julie Chrisley, also made her way home on Wednesday after a full pardon from President Donald Trump. The reunion was a happy one for the couple, who has not spoken to another since being sentenced over 2 years ago. So there you go. What else do we have? Let's see. Hailey Bieber signed a $1 billion deal with Elf Beauty for her beauty brand Rhode. She gushed over the news on Instagram, telling her that she feels invigorated and excited about her future. Of course, the news comes at the heels of reports that her husband, Justin Bieber, is struggling financially. So there you go. Some stuff going on right there as we are talking. Let's squeeze another few stories in if we can and getting through it. Ben Stiller isn't sure on how to take Pat McAfee's jab about sending big wigs from the city back home. Ahead of his Knicks-Pacers Eastern Conference game in Indianapolis this week, McAfee called out Stiller, Spike Lee, and Timothy Chalamet, who are there cheering on the Knicks. He then screamed to the crowd, "Let's send these sons of bitches back to New York with their ears bleeding." After the game, which he saw the Pacers beat the Knicks, Stiller addressed a shout-out on X, writing, "Yes, weird. We are happy to be there and to cheer our team. And other than that, Indy fans were awesome." So I don't know. Sounds kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't keep up with anything when it comes to sports. So cool. Is it over? Like, is it done? I mean, I don't know. The Eastern Conference Finals. Yep. Cool stuff. Okay, let's continue talking. The Kings of Leon are canceling some of their upcoming tour dates as frontman Caleb recovers from a freak injury that he suffered. In a post on X, let's see, Caleb tells the fans that he broke his foot playing around with his kids and had to undergo emergency surgery. Meanwhile, he has been advised not to travel to be on his feet for the next 8 weeks. The band was set to jet off to Europe for an upcoming show in Paris and Portugal. No word whether it will be rescheduled or canceled. Okay, take a listen to this. Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist Josh pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter without gross should it be guitarist or former guitarist? Gross negligence this week for accidentally killing a 47-year-old pedestrian in Los Angeles last year. With the plea, he will avoid jail time, instead serve a year of informal probation and a 60-day community labor. Josh also had been ordered to complete a driver safety class and pay restitution to the victim's family. What? How come this doesn't sound right? Are we sure about this? Let's take a look at something. Yeah, let's see. Ex-guitarist, not current guitarist. Let's make sure that we have that correctly. That's what I was thinking here. I was like, that does not sound like the current guitarist. So yeah, ex-guitarist. And how does it get bleeded down that low? That's the other question that I would love to have a better understanding for. That's for sure. It gets very confusing at times on how this actually ends up working. Anyways, we are so close to 32 minutes past to the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and get into some more news. I have my friends from Feature Story News ready to go.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Hamas officials are signalling they will reject the White House's latest plan for a ceasefire deal in Gaza. The US says Israel's accepted the proposal, which includes a 60-day pause in fighting and the release of more hostages and prisoners. Hamas believes the plan doesn't satisfy core demands such as an end to the war. Military analyst Major Andrew Fox says long-term solutions to the crisis look elusive.
There's a huge amount of clear blue water between the two negotiating sides at the moment. Bottom line is Hamas wants to survive. That is a win for them in this war. The conditions that Israel is demanding are that Hamas removes itself from power and releases all their hostages, where the hostages are the only thing ensuring Hamas's survival. So we're in this wicked loop.
US President Donald Trump's global tariffs have been temporarily reinstated after a federal appeals court agreed to pause a ruling halting the import taxes while it considers the White House's appeal. The Trump administration has threatened to go to the Supreme Court if it was unable to block the trade court's ruling that said the president exceeded his authority in imposing the tariffs. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
Another roller coaster 24 hours in the global trade war instigated by US President Donald Trump. On Wednesday, the Court of International Trade ruled that President Trump didn't have the power to impose the sweeping tariffs he announced on so-called Liberation Day, meaning his plans to impose a baseline 10% tariff on all nations, as well as higher levies on certain countries, were blocked. The Trump administration immediately lodged an appeal with the Federal Appeals Court, and on Thursday, it paused the ruling made by the Trade Court, temporarily reinstating the tariffs.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is set to make his debut at a key Asian defense forum, while China's Defense Minister Dong Jun will skip it. A delegation from the People's Liberation Army National Defense University will attend the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
In previous years, China has sent its defense minister to the high-profile summit. Last year, there was a bilateral meeting between Dong Jun and then US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. However, US-China military ties have worsened in recent months, with working-level military dialogue channels established during the Biden administration suspended since US President Donald Trump took office. Some analysts say with the absence of China's defense minister, that presents the US with an opportunity, and Hegseth is set to make his first remarks on his vision for US defense policy in the Indo-Pacific.
Polls suggest Poland's presidential election on Sunday is running neck and neck. Warsaw's Liberal Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski and Conservative Karol Nawrocki are contesting the role which has significant power to veto legislation. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. New Delhi has once again rejected Donald Trump's claims that a ceasefire between India and Pakistan was only achieved because the US administration offered the two countries trading access. India has repeatedly rejected Trump's version of events, that the US brokered the ceasefire, and of trade ties being a factor in ending hostilities with Pakistan, something that strained ties with its largest trading partner. Neha Punia reports from New Delhi.
New Delhi has once again categorically rejected American claims that the US president offered India and Pakistan, quote, trading access with America to avert a full-scale war between the nuclear-armed neighbors. In a press briefing, Randhir Jaiswal, the official spokesman for the Ministry of External Affairs, said this. There were conversations between Indian and US leaders on the, quote, evolving military situation, but New Delhi says the issue of trade or tariffs did not come up in any of these discussions. Trump's repeated claims taking credit for the ceasefire have angered New Delhi, experts say, straining what is otherwise a very robust bilateral relationship. This week, India's foreign secretary is also in the US meeting officials, where Trump's comments have reportedly also been raised by Indian officials. Neha Punia, New Delhi.
There's more of our reporting on X, our handle there, at Feature Story. And you can find us on Facebook too, just search Feature Story News. To recap the top stories, Hamas officials are signalling they will reject the White House's latest plan for a ceasefire deal in Gaza. US President Donald Trump's global tariffs have been temporarily reinstated by a court. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is set to make his debut at a key Asian defense forum in Singapore amid strained ties with some allies. And polls suggest Poland's presidential election on Sunday is running neck and neck. That's the latest Feature Story News. Ollie Barrett reporting.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
If you're anything like me, you have certain tendencies to put things off, such as filing taxes, seeing the doctor, working on that home improvement project that you're supposed to be doing, but you just haven't gotten to it. And while most of the times it works out, the one thing in life that you really cannot afford to wait on is setting up term coverage life insurance. You've probably seen life insurance commercials on TV and thought, yeah, I'll look into it later. Well, the answer is no. This isn't something that you can wait for. Choose life insurance through Ladder today. Ladder is 100% digitals, no doctors, no needles, no paperwork. When you apply for $3 million in coverage or less, just answer a few questions about your health in an application. Ladder's customers rate them 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and they've made Forbes' Best Life Insurance in 2021's list. You just need a few minutes and a phone or a laptop to apply. Ladder's smart algorithm works in real time, so you'll find out if you're instantly approved. No hidden fees, cancel anytime, get full refund if you change your mind in the first 30 days. Ladder policies are issued by insurers with long proven histories of paying claims. They're rated A and A+ by AM Best. Finally, since life insurance costs more as you age, now is the time to cross it off your list. So go to ladder.com/safetyfm today to see if you're instantly approved. That's LADDER life.com/safetyfm. Ladderlife.com/safetyfm.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
I know you all want to hit your revenue targets and get the launch done. Well, making sure that your team knows what to do and how to do it is a huge part of it. So I'm sure that you all do different kinds of training, and I'm willing to bet that you probably use PowerPoint, Zoom, etc. I also bet that when you get someone droning on about a topic using these tools, you probably zone out. And your team does too. I mean, it is a reality of what happens. That's why I strongly recommend a tool called Articulate 360. that makes it so easy to whip together interactive, really beautiful e-learnings that really engages people and gets info across. You can create short-form micro-learning, super interactive courses, and really whatever you need when you're in their site. Then with a couple of clicks, you can send it out and check on it and see the progress of your team. Your team can also check back on the training anytime they want in a super simple portal. Literally everyone uses Articulate. Over 120,000 companies and all 100 Fortune 100 companies. Check it out at articulate.com/360 to start a free trial. That's articulate.com/360 to start your free trial. And don't forget to tell them that I was the one that sent you there.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
Let me talk to you real quick. What is HelloFresh? With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Spend your time this month shopping for gifts and sipping cocoa, not stuck at the checkout line. Sign up for HelloFresh and get everything you need to whip up a fresh, tasty meal delivered to your door. Just choose your recipes, select a delivery date, and relax knowing the dinner's on its way. HelloFresh has over 45 recipes and more than 100 seasonal add-on items to choose from every week, so it's easier than ever to find something everyone will enjoy. Go to HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM free. That's HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM free to use the code SafetyFM free for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM free with code SafetyFM free. And don't forget that this is why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
In safety, in my opinion, you woke up. You saw the system, the simulation, the structure that trained you to mistake compliance for care. Safety mutation. Information misdirection picks up where the signal fractured. Because the system didn't shut you down, it rebranded you. It packaged your voice. Sold your rebellion as a new initiative. And smiled while doing it. This isn't a manual. It's a decoded transmission about what happens when slogans replace stories, when safety becomes marketing, and when truth gets mirrored so perfectly, you forget it was ever yours. You'll see the mutation. Learning teams turned into theater, zero harm turned into optics, and feedback turned into formatting. But the signal didn't die. It was redirected. Safety Mutation is Book 2 of the Signal Transmission Trilogy. Available now in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by the author J. Allen, Ph.D. Because the system adapted. Now it's your move.
Well, you know that here at Safety FM and Radio Big, we're always trying to look for life hacks. So with the busy season just around the corner, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for your jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kits, can help you fuel up with fast chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, and ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Refresh your healthy habits without missing a beat. Choose from 34 weekly flavored packs. Dietitian-approved meals ready to eat in 2 minutes. All you need to do is head over to factorsmeals.com/SafetyFM50 and use code SafetyFM50 to get 50% off. That's code SafetyFM50 at factormeals.com/SafetyFM50 to get 50% off. Go there. Do it now.
Tearing the ass out of you like gas station sushi.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like Club Rated R Safety Show going on here. How are you? 45 minutes past the top of the hour. As we are hanging, doing our thing. Yeah, moving and grooving for sure. So this right here is V. Christie. Song titled Lisboa. Songs readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music. You know how it goes. Stuff all over the place. You know, let's let the beat drop. Okay, so let's go back into the move and the groove of the things that we have going on before we get too far away from everything. Anyways, let's talk about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help, and the people at To Write Love on Her Arms want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com to find out more information. Once you get there, there'll be information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com to write love on her arms. So there you go. Let's talk real quick about some movies that are being released this week, because you might want to hear about that. Bring Her Back, a brother and a sister uncover a terrifying ritual, and let's see, that at a secluded home with their foster mother. That comes out today. It looks like a horror mystery. Also, Karate Kid's Legend comes out today. After moving to New York with his mother, and prodigy Li Fong struggles to let go and get past and fit in with his new classmates. With the help of Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso, he learns to merge two styles into one ultimate martial arts. So there you go. Also, what is this? The Scheme? It's a comedy, action, limited. Wealthy businessman SZA Corda appoints his only daughter, a nun, as his sole heir. They soon become the target of a scheming tycoon, foreign terrorists, and assassins. So that's out today in limited release. Make sure we're clear here. Also, what else do we have? An expert is predicting that those with handy moving walkways that were merely moving through an airport with with luggage may someday soon become the thing of a past. USA-based airline, hotel, and loyalty program expert Ben Sharping points out that many airports are decommissioning these convenient walkways for one reason. He explained that airports are businesses, and they make money in two main ways: fees related to flying and passenger spending while at the airport. It would seem that airport operators increasingly want to delay flyers from plopping down in a seat at their gate, and they'd much rather have them wandering the airport stores and kiosks, spending as much money as possible. Sorry guys, I've already blew my entire travel budget on a soggy breakfast sandwich and a lukewarm cup of crappy coffee. Oh, good, because airports really need to be less convenient. I have a friend that travels all the time, and he talks about how far some of the gates are from each other, and he normally uses those walkway things. So I'm assuming that some of that stuff is not going to help. Duh. When it's all said and done, when you start really thinking about it. So anyways, that's kind of how it goes, I guess, when it comes to that stuff. I was reading yesterday, too, that don't be surprised, too, in the near future if you start seeing some of the point systems inside of some of these cards, to go away as well. So we'll take a look at that as things move forward. Anyways, let's talk about some more positive things. Let's bring some John Smalls into our life and let him tell us about the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com.
The Motivation Minute.
Today's quote was submitted by Corey. Steve Jobs said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on." I love this. I spoke with a young man recently who's graduating from high school right now. He's trying to figure out what he wants to be when he grows up. Hey kid, I'm almost 50 and I'm still trying to figure that out. But I will say this, do something that makes you happy. I feel blessed that I do.
The Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Hello, I'm Richard Exley with your 1-minute devotion. Experience has taught me to carefully weigh the criticism I receive, separating that which is valid from that which is not. Even the most sincere person is capable of interjecting his personal feelings into a situation. Therefore, I'm careful not to accept everything carte blanche. On occasion, I found it beneficial to discuss the criticism with a third person to get a more objective view. When it is appropriate, make the corrections that are required. It is seldom easy to admit that we are wrong, especially if it means reversing a decision, but it is absolutely mandatory. Lord, my need to be right makes it hard for me to accept criticism. Forgive me and change me. Amen. If these devotions are a blessing and an encouragement to you, you can subscribe at oneminutedevotion.com.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Hundreds of Palestinians stormed a United Nations food warehouse in central Gaza on Wednesday, resulting in the deaths of 4 individuals.
2 victims were crushed in the crowd, while 2 others were shot, according to local hospital officials. This incident followed violence a day earlier at a new aid distribution site established by the Israeli and US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, where gunfire led to 1 death and 48 injuries. Benjamin Wright reporting.
Israel launched airstrikes on Sana'a International Airport in Yemen on Wednesday, targeting Houthi rebels. Joseph Eckerson with the latest.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that the strikes were in response to missile attacks by Iran-backed Houthi forces. The airstrikes destroyed last aircraft of Yemeniyah, Yemen's national airline, further crippling the country's aviation capabilities. Netanyahu also reaffirmed plans to relocate Gaza's population to a sterile zone. These developments come amid escalating tensions in the region, with Israel intensifying its military operations against perceived threats.
Germany and Ukraine have agreed to jointly develop new long-range weapon systems capable of reaching targets within Russian territory.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz announced the collaboration during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Berlin. The agreement includes a memorandum of understanding between the 2 countries' defense ministries, though specific technical details were not disclosed. Merz emphasized that there would be no range restrictions, allowing Ukraine to fully defend itself. Liam White reporting.
President Donald Trump announced a new visa policy targeting foreign officials responsible for censoring Americans.
The policy aims to deny entry to individuals who suppress free speech and expression. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that the measure is intended to hold foreign governments accountable for actions that infringe upon the rights of U.S. citizens. The administration emphasized the importance of protecting American values both domestically and abroad, Lawrence Keller reported.
President Donald Trump escalated his criticism of Harvard University, accusing the institution of treating the country with disrespect.
He suggested that Harvard should cease opposing his administration's policies. Trump claimed that the university is losing substantial federal funding due to its stance, stating, "Every time they fight, they lose another $250 million. He also reiterated concerns about the number of foreign students at Harvard, suggesting a cap at 15%. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Southwest Airlines announced that it will begin charging fees for checked bags starting this week, ending its long-standing policy policy of free checked luggage.
The airline stated that the change is necessary to offset rising operational costs. Passengers will now be required to pay for each checked bag, with specific fees varying based on flight routes and ticket classes. The move aligns Southwest with other major U.S. airlines that already charge for checked baggage. Customer reactions have been mixed, with some expressing disappointment over the policy shift. Kyle Norris reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Some of the best things in life come to those who wait, but we ain't waiting for shit. Radio Big.
Okay, we ain't waiting for anything is what it sounds like. Let's talk about some things that happened back on this date. Back in 1971, NASA launches the Mariner 9 spacecraft to study the atmosphere of Mars and its moons. The probe made it to Mars 6 months later, narrowly beating two Soviet probes with similar missions by a matter of weeks. It remained in orbit indefinitely. Projections estimated that it would burn up in the atmosphere after about 50 or so years, and it's likely done exactly that. Otherwise, it's still orbiting somewhere in the red planet. So there you go. Let's talk about some birthdays that are going on today. Blake Bashoff turns 44. Remy May turns 45. CeeLo Green turns 50. Indina Marcel turns 54. Tom Morello, 61. Wyona Judge turns 61 as well. John Alt, 60. Calm Beanie turned 72. Stephen Tobolsky turned 74. And David Aykroyd turns 85 today. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, well, I always have some of those for you. It's World Multiple Sclerosis Day, National Smile Day, and World No Tobacco Day. That's World No Tobacco Day. So some stuff to think about as we are talking. That is for Shizo. So what else do we have? Do you need a rando? I have a rando for you. Let me give you that real quick. Looking back at all the success and failures in my life, I can't help but to be proud of at least the potty training thing still stuck around. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. You've got 30 seconds of phone call to any moment in history. Who do you call and what do you say? If you need a question for the water cooler, try this. 4 in 10 people say they've never done this in a restaurant. What is it? Sent food back. Okay, so that's going to sum up our time together. Thanks for hanging out with me on this lovely day. There is no doubt in the world that I could not do this without you. The most important part of Safety FM and Radio Big, that is for sure. So that's going to sum up our time. At the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm for the next couple hours or so if you want to come and hang out with me. If not, that is fine. Over there, I'll be talking about the world of safety, but I'll be talking about the world of music and entertainment. But if you hang out here on Safety FM, you'll hang out with the likes of Sheldon Primus as he talks about the world of safety consulting. No doubt there. Anyways, if I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. The point is that the point is not to pay back kindness, but to pass it on. Keep that in mind. Anyways, I know who you are. Duh. You know who I am. Love ya, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.